Hello, hello, and welcome to a little video about lesson 2.1, solving linear equations. All right, first, I'd like to talk about the properties that we have here. Okay, so first we need to think about the addition property. The addition property, we use it to undo subtraction and negatives. We use the subtraction property to undo addition slash positives, because those things are interchangeable. Division. We use division to undo multiplication. We use multiplication to undo division. Now, I do want to remind you that we are in algebra now, so division is not going to be a standard division sign like this. We are now going to have fractions. So 1/2 does represent division. It's 1 divided by 2. So just a little FYI, that division is going to look a little different for us. I also want to remind us of the distributive property. We are going to encounter it with a number in front of parentheses, and we multiply into it. So it's a property of multiplication. And then we also have one thing to remind ourselves is like terms, and that's the fact that we can only add and subtract similar terms, which means we can add and subtract like regular numbers like 7 and 8, and we can add or subtract things like 8x minus 2x, but we cannot do 8x minus 2. So numbers with numbers, letters with letters, and it's important to also remember that the letters have to be the same. So x's go with x's, y's with y's, z's with z's, etc. Okay, let's dive into this. All right, number 1, 37 equals 10 minus 3x. So our goal here, and when we solve equations, is to get the variable by itself. So our goal is to have x by itself. Think of it as kind of unwrapping a present. So we're going to start on the outside to get inside. The first thing I'm going to do is draw like a little line to stabilize my equation down the middle. Okay. Now, the x is attached to -3, which is attached to a positive 10. So I want to get rid of that 10 first. So 10 is positive. How do I undo positives? With subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 10 from this side and 10 from that side. On the left, 37 minus 10 is 27. On the right, 10 minus 10 cancels, and I'm left with -3x. Be very careful not to lose that negative. So it looks like subtraction in the problem, but subtraction and negatives are interchangeable. So the second there is nothing in front of that minus sign, we now call it a negative symbol. Although on the calculator, we do need to press 2 different buttons for that. But minus and negative are essentially the same. All right. Now we have -3x and 27. Now -3x is actually -3 times x. So we are going to divide both sides by -3 to undo that multiplication. On the left side, 27 divided by -3 is -9. On the right, -3 divided by -3 is 1. We don't need to write the 1 in front of the x. It's just x. -9 equals x. All right. Number 2, 52 equals 18 minus 2x. Draw the line down the middle. I'm going to start off by moving the 18 to the other side. 18 is positive, so minus 18 on both sides. On the left side, 52 minus 18 is 34. 18s cancel over here, and we're left with negative 2x. I finish this problem up by dividing both sides by negative 2, because negative 2x is actually negative 2 times x. 34 divided by negative 2 is negative 17. And negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, so we just write x. Okay, onwards we go to number 3 and 4. Number 3 is a little different because it has numbers and variables on both sides. Now there's 4 different ways of starting this problem. I prefer to move around the variables, so the x's first. And I like to move the smallest ones to the side of the largest ones. That's just my own personal preference. You can start this problem off in many different ways. So I'm going to move this positive 10x to the other side by subtracting 10x. I can only subtract 10x from the 12x's because the 4 on the left doesn't have any x's. Okay. On the left, 12x minus 10x leaves us with 2x's. Bring the negative 4 down. 10's on the right cancel, and we're left with a positive 6. We do not need to write a plus for the positive, so it's just 6. Now let's move the 4 to the right. We're going to do that because if our letters, our variables are on the left, our numbers should be on the right. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides to undo that subtraction. So we are left with 2x equals 10. And to finish this up, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so just x. X equals 5. There it is. Onwards to number 4. All right, one more time. We've got x's on both sides. I'm going to do it my way. I hope that's okay with you. You really don't have a choice since I'm the one making the video. Okay, so 3 halves is 1 1/2, and the x on the right is just 1. So the one on the left is larger. So I'm going to subtract 1x from both sides. Okay, so subtract. Okay, 3 halves x minus 1x leaves us with 1/2. So 1 1/2 minus 1 is 1/2. The minus 19 goes down. The x's here cancel. 11 is left over. My next step is going to be to take that 19 and bring it over to the other side. And I'm going to do that with addition. On the left, I have 1/2 x. On the right, 30. Now, 1/2, as I mentioned before, is a division problem. So we're going to undo it by multiplying. And it's going to look a little funky. First of all, we need to make sure that both sides of our equal sign has parentheses around it. It's very important. In order to get rid of that 1/2, we are going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction, which means flip that fraction upside down. So 2 over 1 instead of 1 over 2. And this is why. On the left, when I do 2 over 1 times 1 over 2, I've got a 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. They cancel. And the 1's also cancel. On the left, I have x. Forgot to write that we multiplied. And on the right, 30 times 2 is 60, divided by 1 is 60. So that's number 4. Let's continue. Number 5. Okay, still has some fractions in it. Going to give us a little bit more practice. But this is just going to be a 2-step problem. Okay. My first step is going to be to take that minus 7 and move it to the right by adding, because that's the opposite of subtracting. So on the left, 2/3 x, because the 7's cancel. 25 plus 7 is 32. We have 2/3. That's division. To undo division, we're going to multiply. So I'm going to put both sides in parentheses, and I'm going to multiply by the fraction flipped upside down. So instead of 2 over 3, I'm going to multiply by 3 over 2. On the left, there's a 3 on the top of the fraction, 3 on the bottom. They cancel. 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. They cancel. I'm left with x. On the right, 32 times 3 is 96, divided by 2 is 48. Let's take a look at number 6. The first thing that I'm going to do here is add 8 to both sides to undo the minus 8. So I'm left with 5/3 x, because the 8's cancel, equals 40. We have a fraction. Fractions are division, so we must multiply both sides. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which means we're going to flip our fraction upside down, 3 over 5. The 3's cancel, top and bottom. 5's cancel, top and bottom. So I'm just left with x. All right. On the right-hand side, 40 times 3 is 120, divided by 5 is 24. Yes, 24. Okay. Number 7 and 8 have a little bit more work to them, but it's pretty much the same. The only thing that's different here, or two things that are different. First of all, we have m's instead of x's. And that really doesn't change anything. It just means the variable is now called m. We could call our variable anything. I know x is quite overused, so I wanted to put something else in there. But we could have used literally every single letter of the alphabet, a different one for every problem. Doesn't matter. Now the first step here is going to be to distribute. And I know that because I have a number in front of parentheses. Let's multiply. Negative 5 times negative 2m is positive 10m, because negative 5 times negative 2 is 10, and the m kind of tags along. Next, negative 5 times negative 9 is positive 45. Whoops, I forgot to write the line in the middle. The right-hand side, we're just going to go ahead and rewrite it. Nothing changed there. Now, there's many different ways of going about this problem. There's 4 different ways, actually. So, you're stuck with me in my method. My favorite next step is to subtract 8m from both sides and make sure that you're subtracting it from the m's. So I can only subtract it from the 10m. 10m's minus 8m's is 2m's. I bring the 45 down. And I'm left with a negative 7. Be very careful. Don't lose that negative. Next, I'm going to move 45 over to the right side. And because it's a plus 45, I'm going to subtract 45 from both sides. On the left, I have 2m. 45's cancel. On the right, I have negative 52. One last step, one of the most popular ones. We're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 2. On the right, they cancel. Oh man, I called it the right again. On the left, they cancel. M equals. Oh my goodness. This is why I shouldn't make these videos at the end of the day. Whatever. Negative 52 divided by 2 is negative 26. Alright, that was a pretty long one. But honestly, it was the same steps as that we were doing before. It was a multi-step because we did have to distribute and then we did have variables on both sides. But you know, we got through it. We got through it. Let's do this one more time for number 8. I have parentheses, which tells me I'm going to have to distribute negative 2 times negative 4m is positive 8m. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. And the right-hand side stays exactly the same. It had nothing on it for us to do in this step. Okay, My next favorite step to take, although I could take 3 others, is to move the letters smallest to the largest. So I'm going to take that 6M, subtract it from both sides, from the M's only though. Whoops. Okay. 8M's minus 6M's is 2M's plus 6. The 6M's cancel, and we very carefully bring down the negative 10. Next, I'm going to move that 6. I move that 6 through subtraction because it's a positive 6, so a minus undoes the plus. On the left, 2M because the 6's cancel. On the right, negative 16. One last step. To get that 2 away from the M, we're going to divide. On the left, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we're just left with the letter M. Oh, why isn't it writing? What just happened? Oh, there we go. And on the right, negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. All right, just a longer problem with a little bit more steps, but overall, pretty similar method to our first few problems. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask me. If you want an extra copy just to kind of look at this inked notes, I did post it on our Teams page, so make sure to check that. Have a wonderful rest of whatever day it is that you're watching this on. Bye!